And we're back to talk about the third play style. That's right, so far we've talked about sitting back, playing patient, waiting for the opponent to whiff, and then you punishing. We've also talked about going in and looking to mix the opponent up, but there is one final play style, and that is a setup play style. What is a setup play style? A setup play style is you set something up, and for Sub-Zero, it's almost always going to be the clone, and then you use that setup in order to hit the opponent. This is the only playstyle that Sub-Zero can do all by himself, because yes, you can whiff punish from here, but all you're getting is that 110. Yes, you could try to do some fake mix-ups up close, but the frames on the back 3 and the back 2 are way too far apart for that to be a true mix-up. So the only playstyle Sub-Zero can do by himself without a cameo is setups, because he has access to the clone. Now the good news is that overall setups have become stronger for Sub-Zero. I know some people are going to disagree with this because of the change to the clone recharge time, but I'm going to talk about how to loop it. But overall, it's gotten better because this clone lasts longer. That's just your basic clone. Because this clone lasts longer, you can now do things like run up and throw them even mid-screen. For the record, that is a forward throw I'm doing. Took me a while to learn that one in the first couple of months of the game. But that's going to pull them toward you. So forward throw them into the clone. Also, with the change to clone popping up, you now have that option, which we did not have previously. So this is a setup you can do. Now, the core idea of a setup is you are, again, setting something up, and then you are opening the opponent up. You are hitting the opponent. How are we doing that? Well, now is when we are again mixing. So if anybody watched my last video expecting me to be talking about this sort of thing, no, I'm saving it because these 50-50s are only working after the setup is in place. And the reason I'm emphasizing this is because it is a different mindset. You are fishing for a hit to then set things up, or you are very much pushing the opponent to the corner to then set them up in the corner to be in a tough situation. So this is not something we can just do right off the bat. I do think this is the hardest played style because for the whiff punish, you're waiting for them to make a mistake, sort of mentally breaking them because they get frustrated and come in to hit you and make a mistake that way. And this one, you're on offense, you're making the decisions, you're mixing them up. So I think those two are a bit more straightforward, whereas the setup, you can only use this setup at particular times. You've got to really work towards something to then get that payoff. But for some people, this is a play style that they absolutely love. And the good news is, again, all of us can be doing it to a degree, no matter what sort of play style you are going in on, because Sub-Zero has some of this setup capabilities by himself. All of us should know how to do this. So just like we had criteria for judging what was a true and good 50-50, we have the same criteria for setups, or I should just say criteria. Now, that criteria is going to showcase that this setup is bad. The reason why this setup is no good is because the opponent can easily get out of it. And what I mean by that is a mid-screen clone setup. Yes, you are getting a 50-50 of throw or a hit, a low, right? Which you could also probably maybe be going into back the ring, still getting it. You'd have to do that really quickly. So your hit is more just coming from the slide. But if you were to leave the enhanced version out, this thing stays there forever. You got time to really walk up, throw them. You've got time to do a hit and a slide and get that. So that's your strike throw mix. Why am I saying that that's no good? Well, that's no good because the opponent just backs away, right? If they're in the middle of the screen, they're like, oh, there's a clone there, I'm just going to move backwards. Or if they see your clone come out, so let's say you're doing like this and this, if they're blocking, they can just armor through that. Or certain characters like Shang Tsung can just, do a ground fireball if he's in old form and full combo punish you for going into clone. Kenshi can do the rising slash, so on and so forth. So people have ways of hitting sub out of this. So just like cloning in their face mid-screen on block, that is not a good idea. So yes, you can be doing this a little bit. You can toss it in there. You put a clone here and still be sliding them into a combo from here. It's pretty neat, right? But really what we're talking about is either getting them in the corner, because in the corner they have fewer options, or using a cameo to make your mix-ups after the setup more real, or to even add to that setup to put more on screen. After a deep dive into this, because I want to give you the best content possible, in my mind, there are only 3 cameos. That's right, just 3 that are going to legit help you with this. And I know that number might seem shocking because there's a lot of characters that put stuff on screen. Sector can put a missile on screen. Kung Lao can put a hat on screen. Sonya can put a charged shot on screen. But I'm not going to be counting any of those characters. And the reason why I'm not counting those characters is because here is the criteria for the setup. The setup takes work. You got to put time and effort into getting the opponent into the setup. And so if you've had to invest that time, your setup payoff needs to be good. We want to be in a very strong, advantageous position once the setup is occurring. What does it mean to be in a strong, advantageous position? It means the opponent should be forced into an inescapable or nearly inescapable guess. They have to guess between your overhead or low or a strike throw that are coming out, very close in frame. So it is a true mix that they are having to actually guess and not just easily fuzzy. All right. Also, we want both of those options to lead to a full combo. It's not enough to just knock them down. That's just resetting the situation. And we also want to be able to cycle this, meaning we want to be able to do it a couple times. We don't just want to, set it up once and that's it. The only way setting up just once would work is if we're getting a huge amount of damage out of it. All right. So why am I saying these other characters don't count? Well, for a while, Tom Brady, for instance, was very interested in Kung Lao because Tom Brady would talk about, Tom Brady would talk about setting up the hat during the freeze, and then we do a jump in that's going to hit him high and low. So, the timing on that, we got to get used to, but that's fine. You get in the lab, you hold this, wait for a bit, do the jump in. There we go. We're hitting both. And the reason that is so critical, the reason why we want, a situation that is along those lines is because we want to break armor. If somebody notices that you're setting something scary up, what are they going to do? They're going to want to armor right out of it. They're going to say, oh, I don't want to deal with that, so I'm just going to armor you on wake up, and that will allow me to escape. So a setup like this, we're like, no, I don't think so. I'm breaking your armor with this attack, and then I'm going to go into a full combo. So why isn't this legit? I mean, this seems great. We are using the properties of our clone to hold them in place so they can't escape. And then we're getting this setup that works mid-screen, right? Okay, that I didn't time perfectly, but you get the idea. So why does that not count? That does not count because the opponent can do one little simple thing, and suddenly your setup doesn't work. All they have to do is delay wake up in your timing. So I'm getting used to this. I'm in training mode. I'm used to doing it. Oh, I whiff. And now maybe, depending on the timing, they're punishing me. All they had to do was hold one button, a single button, and my entire setup is done. My entire setup doesn't work. No, that is no good. Like, yes, sure, we could on a read see that they're doing the delay our jump, but it's not just that we'd have to delay. You also have to delay when you are putting out the hat, because the hat can only stay out so long. Look at this. It's going to whiff them, and that was the regular time. I can't just keep holding the hat forever. If I could hold the hat forever, okay, maybe I'd think a little differently about this. But that is going to rule out every single cameo that you can't delay as long as their delayed wake up. So that means setups with jacks. Maybe you've been hit by some jack stuff, right? Where someone does this, they call out jacks, they jump, and then you're hit by the ground. Just delay wake up. It's fine. Maybe they're putting sector missile on screen. Just delay wake up. It's fine. You can counter so many of these simply with the delay wake up. So what can't be countered? The very first one we're going to talk about, one that I had actually written off to a degree, I gotta be real here, is Darius. And the reason I had written off Darius was because Darius seemed very meter intensive to me and very specific in terms of utility. But actually Darius has more utility than I initially believed. And it's because of this. It's because on any knockdown, you can call Darius out. And as I talked about in my very first How to Win video, we're going to be doing this a lot. We are going to be knocking the opponent down. And whenever you knock the opponent down, you can call out Darius. I'm doing this with down cameo. All right. Now the opponent does need to be knocked down in order for this to work, but any knockdown you can do it off of. I could be doing it off of a throw. I can be doing it off of a sweep. Anything like that. Well, not the forward throw because Darius is already out. But a back throw, boom, I can call Darius out. So any of these hits, even if I just would like a stray this, boom, Darius is out. Now, this is good because it really gives a lot more utility for you, Darius, but it's not quite as good as I wanted it to be perfectly honest. The reason it's not as good as I wanted it to be is because there is no pop-up associated with that. But before we get into what's the lack, let's talk about what's really, really good. Not only is it good that we can call Darius off of any knockdown, but the delay is key. So the opponent is set to delay wake up, right? It don't matter. Darius is still chilling there, right? So even though they're delaying, it's fine. I call this out. I'm waiting. I hit you, right? Or once you get good at it, as soon as you see the opponent rise, boom, you just let this go. What's also amazing is Darius is behind them. Very few characters have a way to hit something behind them. So they really have to hold this mix that Darius is going to do. So that's good. And that allows you to get in. And that way you can then be pressuring them and continue to move them toward the corner. So that's pretty nice. Also, it's nice that with Darius, you can be doing a low hit instead. So you can set things up once the opponent respects it, that you're jumping in with a punch as soon as that low hit is happening. Now, that is a little tricky to get the controls of that, right? To be pressing down with Darius right as you're doing the punch, but it can be done. There's some good mix-ups here. I've actually seen an Ermac player doing this recently, and then there was a Sub-Zero player that was also on Rips Arena. I was like, oh, this is awesome, right? And that really made me look into Darius a lot more. So shout-outs to the players we get to see in these great tournaments like Rips. But going back to the utility of this, it's decent. It's decent. Like, you're going to lock the opponent down and you can't get a mix-up. Now, the reason it's not as amazing as I'd like it to be is, as I said, the overhead actually doesn't have the same properties as another overhead we're going to get from Darius. It only leads to a splat. Now, that does create pressure, especially if the opponent begins to respect you and is even just blocking that overhead. It allows you to get in on them and then mix them again with, maybe a throw that continues to move them toward the corner. Or now you're, staggering low into that throw. The whole idea is we want to, get them to a corner. We want to get a hit, basically a stronger hit. Because once we get a stronger hit, then we start to get into some dangerous territory for the opponent. The reason we get into dangerous territory is it's the same setup. We're freezing the opponent, but then we're calling forward Darius. Forward Darius is amazing. The reason why forward Darius is incredible, and I'm going to go ahead and keep the opponent on this delay wake up so you can see the value of Darius compared to others, is Darius will again go behind the opponent, waiting. And then we'll do this overhead. But look at the difference. That overhead is a pop-up. So now we got some really good 50-50 mix going on here. The 50-50 mix we're doing is really at this point just overhead or low. So if we threaten to come in but don't, and we just do that, okay, now we got a combo. And yes, this combo is long enough you can loop. That is the key, my friends. Now, obviously, we can only do it twice, because we only have so much Darius meter, right? But you got to do it twice. And it's only taking 1 bar of Darius. This is not taking a full cameo bar. And that's a big deal, because some of these characters that have, or some cameos that have strong, presence on screen, you're having to spend the whole bar to do it. No. We want to be able to do it a couple times, because this is how we're planning to get our major damage through the mix. And we want to be rewarded after we finally get that good hit. So, off of stray little hits, you can be doing this call of Darius to pester the opponent, knock him down, reset the situation, push him. And when you get a real hit, you get to do some real mix on the opponent. Now, the other part of the 50-50 is you just hit with your low before you hit the overhead, and see how that's still comboed, right? And then again, we can set up again, and this time I'm like, I'll do overhead this time, still hits. I still get to freeze again. So life is good. This is loopable. It's decent damage. It's relatively easy to do once you get used to it. And it will blow up wake-ups if we think the opponent is going to wake up, because I've already proved that it works on the delay, which is clutch. I hope you noticed. That totally worked with the opponent delaying the entire time. It will also work against this, because you can just be threatening the Darius. So Darius is there, and then I just block. I'm like, no, yeah, you shouldn't have done anything, right? So I can call that out. Now, I do believe it would be possible to hit with both at the exact same time. So if I'm waiting for the opponent to get up, I'm pretty sure that if I timed it just right, those 2 hits would happen simultaneously, and that would allow me to do it. Johnny's is, of course, hard because his is so fast. He's got the fastest wake up in the game, which is why I am using him for the record. Yeah, you might be too fast for the overhead of Darius to come out in time. Although if you don't hold anything on Darius, he does it like right away. Oh, I swear that was 2 hits, right? But the point is here, you could likely get to a point where you are also breaking that armor, especially on slower armors. There we go. Yeah, broke it. Suck it, Johnny. Suck it. So the point is here, this is a real setup in my mind because both sides are leading to a full combo. It is the opponent that is having to guess, not you. With some of these others like Johnny Cage or Sector, you got to guess. Are they going to lay wicked? No. If I've taken the time to get you into a knockdown state and I am a setup-focused player, I want you to be guessing. And here the opponent is having to guess. Whether they delay wake up or not, you've got your options. And you can literally just kind of see them do their moves. And like I said, if you want to play it safe, just block if you think they're going to do the armored wake up. And then you can either punish the armored wake up, or if they actually delayed, then you can still get your 50-50 out of it. So this is strong. This is good. Not only are we getting knockdown pressure, not only are we getting a really amazing 50-50 off of this freeze into the forward Darius call that you can hold as long as you want to, choose appropriately, and Darius can do an over and low and those lead to full combos. Not only do we get all that, we also get 50 more health, and that can make a difference, especially in this game where some characters like Natara hitting for like 40, 45, 50%, having that extra little touch of life can turn this into a 2-touch to a 3-touch, so the opponent needs to hit you 3 times to actually kill you, and that's a whole new lease on life you can be getting. Also, I really like this thing. This thing, nope. This thing, yeah. So that's back cameo. The reason I like that is because sometimes we're in chip-out situations. And unfortunately, Sub-Zero, unlike some other characters with multi-hit attacks, doesn't have a super easy way to chip you out other than from, full screen doing this. This is a great way to end a match, by the way. But this really gives you some hits. It's nice. Look at those 3 hits, and you're put in a situation where you're only -7 with a solid amount of pushback. Nobody's punishing that. Not even Johnny Cage. I don't even think... I'm forgetting her name. She's got the flip kick, but she also can punish -7 step. But I don't think she's going to get Lee May. Lee May, I don't think could punish it. Maybe Lee May could punish it because her kick does go a decent range. But I mean, look at that pushback. That seems pretty far. So against most characters, you're basically getting free chip out. In some matches I was playing, I even just used this in neutral like that. I was like, okay, I just need like another hit, and I would do this because look at that range. That really gives Sub-Zero range that he normally does not have. Oh, and as somebody pointed out in the comments, you can actually get a higher damaging combo than I showed previously by getting the hammer to hit them into the Darius kick. You can get around 23%. I'm just going to try this a couple times. It's pretty tight, though. It's kind of like the Movado timing, but it does exist. It does exist. And in the corner, you're getting more damage. So Darius... I'm actually pretty darn impressed, but I think if you want to win, this is making a pick in the right direction. Now, I don't think this is the best pick for setups, and the reason I don't think it's the best pick, even though the setup is incredible, is beyond this, Darius is really not helping you in the neutral at all. Yes, he's helping you get the hit, but beyond that, there is no help with getting the... he's helping you after you get the hit, but he's not helping you get the hit at all. Now that can be okay. You can become very strong at, at dive kicks, at slide whiffs, of using stand 2, forward 1, back 3. There are ways to get hits. I'm just saying you are going to need to play a stronger neutral game with Darius because the only thing you're getting off of something like this is you do get that knockdown. But like I've already shown, that's not really going to give you a combo after it, at least not in most cases, only if the opponent's really respecting it, and then you can go for the low and like a jump in like that sort of thing, okay? So because of that, you're really not getting much help in the nooch. All right. So what sort of character is going to help us more in the neutral and still allow for some stronger setup, some true setup? I'm looking at you, Janet Cage. People were wondering, I'm sure, why I didn't cover Janet in the slide-focused portion of the video two videos ago. And that's because I knew I'd be talking about Janet right now. So why is Janet strong? It doesn't seem like Janet's necessarily helping us out a lot in the neutral either, because, I mean, we're getting like this thing. Like, well, how does that help us out? Well, the reason why that's going to help us out is because this is actually a big deal. This little like punch thing, and it's not just a big deal because of the combos that you can get out of it, the extensions, which I'll show momentarily. It's a big deal because it's protection if we're wanting to play this more zoning focused approach. So we're doing this, what's going to happen? The opponent's going to jump at some point, right? And I already covered this previously, but so we're saying again, when the opponent jumps, snag them with this. So they're jumping in at you, right? They're like, oh, okay, I see that the zoning's happening. I'm gonna do one of these, right? We call Janet, boom. Now you do have to call Janet pretty early, but you're scouting this. You're like, okay, I'm zoning. And sometimes too, if the opponent hits a cameo, it's gonna let you block in time. So if I do this, sorry, I gotta give it just a little pause. So he's pausing, then he's jumping, right? So I'm doing like this thing, right? So this is kind of the situation we're finding ourselves in. We threw one of these, but he jumped right over, right? Well, if I call Janet, see how Janet takes the hit instead of me? If I didn't do that, I would take the hit. So even if Janet isn't hitting him, Janet takes the hit. Janet absorbs that, right? And that's a really big deal because I could get a combo out of this, right? And this is the opponent attacking me. The opponent's attacking me and getting punished. Or I can potentially even just throw a standing one out after it. I'm trying to get the timing. So Janet gets clipped. Not quite a punish. I needed to do a standing one on that. Curious if it would be a punish. But anyway, you get the idea that you can be using Janet to protect yourself. And because you can hit with Janet multiple times, it's very easy to get a full combo out of that. And now I get the one I want instead of the full combo. I was going to say, there's your full combo extension. But anyway, so we're zoning and Janet's protecting us. Thanks, Janet. Appreciate you. Whether you hit the opponent or even you just stop their attack from hitting us, we thank you. So because of that, Janet is helping us some in the neutral in a way that Darius really can't, because Darius' only thing that he can do while you're pressing buttons, his only ambush assist, is that spin kick. And that spin kick takes a full bar of meter. This is only taking half a bar. So that's already a pretty big win. Also, we've got this. We got mind time, and we can do this to, again, further zone. Now, this isn't as amazing as it is for some other characters. Just being real here. The reason why that's not as amazing as it is for some other characters is Sub-Zero doesn't have a good full screen projectile. So I can't be doing this full screen. Like, this really isn't the space I want to exist in. I can do this, close out a match again, sure. Put Janet out there, do some of these against an opponent that can't teleport. So there is some utility in that, right? But the major reason we're using Janet is one, for the slides, and we'll talk all about how to do this. One, for the slide combos, and look at that corner carry, boom, we're now in the corner. Love it, right? Still hitting for pretty decent damage there, 28.5%, that's nice. And the important thing about it is you can do it either way. So if you want to switch sides, you can. If you want to keep them going this way, you can. And that is crucial because if you're playing a setup focused style, you want to get the opponent into the corner. So if the opponent has you cornered, you're going to switch sides with them. If you're mid-screen or close to a corner on your right, in this particular case, you're going to keep them moving in this direction. Also, the reason why that switching or the ability to choose is so useful is honestly combos off of the spear slide are more consistent, because when you're really close to the opponent, as people have probably noticed with Sonya can whiff. Like if you're doing a slide from here, and the reason you'd be doing slide from here is like a down one into slide, like that sort of scummy play style, or you're looking to blow up an opponent's gaps. You're blowing up opponent's gaps, you're really, really close. So sometimes Sonya might whiff. Well, Janet comes in behind you, so she generally doesn't whiff as often, so she's more consistent than Sonya, and oh my goodness, consistency is key if you want to win. Or if you're worried about that, just hold it. And then you will always get to the right position because that is set in stone. Sub-Zero's animation for his slide spear, it always happens the same way every time. There's no where are they in the air in relationship to my cameo. No, you will know exactly where they are in the air, and once you know how to do it, you'll be able to get it consistently, all right? You drop one combo in this game, that could cost you the match. So that's great. That's great because not only do we want consistent combos, but we want to be able to corner carry so we can then set up the good stuff. One other cool thing about Janet is that when the opponent is waking up, and I'm going to do more with making the hit count and all that, but I want to try something that I actually haven't tried yet. It was something that was on my mind as I was about to start this video, and I just decided to jump in. So here we got the opponent doing reversal. Now we all know that gaps can get blown up, right? And we're like, a lot of people are like, this is why Sub-Zero sucks, because you got these gaps and whatnot, right? So one thing you could do against these gaps is you can just armor them. Yeah, it's like, no, gap, I'm just gonna armor that. And then we get these combos. So that's why, another reason that I really like having the ability to choose, because you can do that and it can still work, but because you're moving past them, Sonya will sometimes miss in these cases, but Janet really doesn't. So this is all not to show so much tech, but the strength of Janet, that because Janet comes in behind you like that, even if you need a side switch, she can be pretty consistent, and she can be 100% consistent if you're just doing the held version. Another cool thing, and shout outs to Combo Heaven for this, Combo Heaven showed you can do this type of thing. So what am I doing? I'm calling in Janet to do that mind time block, and then the opponent's totally vulnerable, even somebody like Johnny Cage, to your back two launcher, and that's pretty hot. You're getting a full combo, so you can bait the opponent into thinking you're going to do a string with gaps, call her out, and she blocks it. Sorry for the jumps, it's just because it's up cameo for her. And so that's awesome. Shout outs again to Combo Heaven for revealing that tech. I'm actually going to be linking in my description a great video by Combo Heaven that shows tons of setup combos for all different sorts of characters, and the ones for Janet Cage are absolute fire. I'm not here to do a big combo video, I'm just here to show you your options and what's strong, all right? So if you want to see a bunch of combos, check that out. But that's just another cool little utility thing that Janet Cage has. And another one that's interesting is when you knock the opponent down, this is the one that I haven't tried yet, that I'm very curious to see if it'll work. So you can find out with me right here, tech in real time. So another cool thing about Sub-Zero is that this punch is a perfect meaty. I'll be talking a lot more about that in my upcoming videos. So that does a perfect meaty attack. You can also use back three if you're worried about the timing. And I was wondering if maybe we could call in Janet fast enough. No, we can't. We can't. I was wondering if mind time would work. Don't worry though. With a character like Janet, we can still be just armoring this on wake up. So opponent, even Johnny, we're like, no, you're not waking up against me. Like, it's not happening. Again, with a character that has a really fast wake up, and if you want to delay your button slightly, because sometimes it's tricky to be kind of frame perfect with that punch into the cancel, you can do back three instead. But once you get it, the forward one is very consistent, has a perfectly timed meaty wake up. So again, I'm not showing this to show tech. I'll dig into that more in my following video about making the hit count. But suffice it to say, the Janet allows you to capitalize on those moments because Janet can combo off of this. So I'm just saying, like, Janet is very, very good at letting you play other play styles of whiff punishing with slide, making the hit count once you actually hit them, and stopping them from waking up. Like, all that's really good, as well as protecting you with this. So there's stuff here. You also get resets. The reset doesn't really matter to me. I'm going to be real here. I know some people are like, the reset's amazing. It puts the opponent in it. That's so plus the fact you can do like this. And it does work. It does work. I'm just going to do a super basic combo, show it. So you can get a longer combo and then end with her. But look at that. You are hit advantage like 34. That's crazy, right? That to me is, I don't care. The reason I don't care is because Sub-Zero already shreds people's wake-ups. And so it doesn't matter. Now, sure, if you don't have any meter to be using your metered slide, something like this is more important because it does also deny the opponent a wake up, and then you can be hitting them off that. You can be setting up clone, for instance, and they don't have a chance to wake up against it. So there is some utility, okay? Yes, I'm saying I don't care about it, but yeah, something like this is good, you know, generally speaking here. Though that, wait, I'm tempted to say you got 44 frames recovery, you're only plus 34. Yeah, that's actually not safe. So yeah, this punch at the end, it's cute, but it doesn't matter a ton. You can use it every now and then for some setups to mess with the opponent that likes using their armor to wake up, but it's not going to be a ton. More often, I would think you'd use it off of this. So this is a way to kind of finish strings in a way the opponent doesn't expect. But again, we kind of don't really need it because you've got this, which is safe now. Before that was safe, getting to end with this was really, really good. But there's still a gap in that. The opponent can go through it. So I'm just trying to show everything. I'm just trying to show like all the aspects associated with it. So I've got the opponent on reversal right now. So if they want, they can just armor through gaps, right? So this has a gap. So it's nice. Like, yeah, sure, we've got this extra hit we can do. Yay. And sure, off of these buttons, which I've shown before, which are really strong, yeah, there's no gap, but who cares? You can just do this, which has no gap, or this, which has no gap. So, yeah, there's a little something with this, but honestly, I don't think it really matters. What matters is the reason why Janet is good and giving you good tools is this, slide combos in either direction, this, no, not that, this to protect you, and especially in gaps to protect you from the opponent doing a reversal, something like this. The opponent's like, oh, I know I can go through that. And sometimes it'll take the opponent a little bit to realize you're doing a string that's got a gap. So you can also do it on the second hit, like that, still works. You know, on the second hit of this, still works. So a way to kind of blow up their gaps. Now, you can also just blow this up like this. That's the way I prefer to blow it up. But again, more on that in the next video. So Janet's good for all of that stuff. But what about the actual setup? So my goodness, aren't we here to talk about setups? Yes, we are. But I'm showing you all these other things to show you, look at everything Janet is giving you that Darius was not giving you. Yes, Darius is giving you an extra 50 health, but holy crap, this tech and stuff that Janet allows you to utilize with sub is amazing. So that is why, even if her mix isn't quite as good as Darius, I'd still say she's better overall, because overall she's giving you more stuff to do. And her mix is pretty strong. So you don't get really anything mid-screen with it. So it's not like Darius, which off of any hit or even a mid-screen combo, you're going to get something cool. And the reason for that is when you call out Janet for this, you aren't getting overhead and low options like Darius is getting. And for the throw push, it pushes them too far away. So Janet can't give you a combo off that. Sure, you can hit with like a low and then hit with her, but really the way you're pushing the opponent away from you, right? She's generally not close enough to do a lot. So you're not really going to be doing this mid-screen, whereas Darius created that kind of Sentos sandwich for you, which was cool. Now you can be blowing up their armor on Wake Up because of all the hits, sure, but we could already blow up armor without that, so we didn't really need that. The time that Janet is going to shine in terms of setups is the corner. Now, the corner is something that, as I mentioned, we want to be doing as a setup player. The reason why we want to get the opponent in the corner is they can't escape. You put up a clone, now they can't just back away. You put up a clone, now you really can come in, do some options here, throw them, all that stuff. And with the enhanced clone, you got tons of time, all right? So this is where we want them anyway, all right? Once you get them here, you're going to want to do a standard combo into freeze. And the reason why you want that freeze is because that allows you to set up this without any repercussions. Once you set this up, you want to do something like this. So this is super, super basic, all right? Like super simple, that was not involved. And I'm getting 25% off of a throw. Now, upsides and downsides. The upside of this is the opponent doesn't have a lot of counters because they're frozen when you're calling out Janet. So they can't be waking up and then you just do this to block, or you do this to shred their wake up on wake up because she's hitting a bunch, you're hitting, all that, okay? So you can break their armor if they're waking up, and then you can throw them. You also don't have to do the throw. You could do a back three into the strike throw part of the mix. So we've got a throw combo, or we've got a hit combo, and that's all you need. Strike throw. Simple as that. Now, Janet does also have a low attack, but getting that to combo is really hard because you got to jump and then make her do the low attack, and making her do something while you're not doing so. It's really hard because to get it all timed correctly is going to take a lot of work. Now, you can. The nice thing about Janet is there's lots and lots of high-end tech. And I'll say that's one of her major strengths, because what she can do is she can reset herself. Like so. If anyone's seen the 50% Ermac combos, this exists, okay? So there are some pretty big combos you can do and reset her. And that's a pretty big deal, because the downside of her is she is very resource intensive. For me to bring her out and do this little, throw combo, I'm pressing just 4, and then she's pressing 4, and then I'm freezing them at the end, that took her whole bar. Like that's an entire bar, where Darius, that was just half a bar, right? So in an ideal world, you actually want to cut that combo just a little bit earlier And while they're in the freeze, so, we do we do the kicks, all this, and then we want to make her not do stuff. So to make her not do stuff, we've got to hold the extra button, and that way she won't attack when we're attacking is the idea. So what you have to do is you have to hold the cameo. If you hold cameo, she doesn't do anything. See, I'm doing stuff, but she's not doing anything. So for that last hit, you got to hold the cameo, so that way she doesn't actually do the attack. You do your freeze, then while they're frozen, you reset her, and then you've got another option. So there is actually a way to loop this to a degree to get like 2 of these out of it. But it's harder to do than Darius. It's going to require more time in the lab for you to do it. But you can end up getting some really high damaging combos with Janet because she's giving you double the hits. And so that's pretty nice. Because, you got to wait just a little bit for them to fall. But with this, this is big damage. Look at that. I messed it up, and I was almost hitting 50%. So, yeah, it's worth it to learn to do this stuff. Now, getting 2 hits at once, it is a little trickier to do. Like, I do think it's trickier than, say, with a Darius, because you do need to be close to them to get this armor break. Let me make sure we got the opponent. There we go, yeah. So it's possible for sure. So you're calling out Janet, and you're trying to get that punch at the exact same time that the opponent would be waking up. So it is a little tricky to get, and I'm showing this purposely. I'm not showing this just so you can see that I suck, but simplicity creates consistency. I'm going to say that again. Consistency is tied to simplicity. The harder it is for you to consistently get a setup, well, the less times you're going to hit with that setup, right? So, due to that, we want something that we can do a lot and easily, right? So if it takes a lot of time to get to a place where we can do this setup, well, it's not quite as good as we'd like to be. Now, I'm getting it sort of, but not really. You're seeing it's a little tricky. Now, obviously, the easy one, if you think the opponent's, going to freak out and get out of there, just block. And just block, no worries, right? And then do your stuff, okay? So that does exist. But I'm just pointing out, it is harder to break through their armor than it is with Darius. I haven't spent more time with Janet than I've spent with Darius, or vice versa. I've spent a lot of time with both, to be clear. But getting that armor break set up a little bit harder. It exists, it's there, but Janet is going to be a harder learning curve. I think you could be picking up Darius, and at least on the setup side of things, be mixing people a lot easier, a lot faster, because you got that overhead low. You can really choose that timing to learn that hit. You can even do a low with Darius. I think you're going to be mixing people after the setup way faster than you're going to do with Janet. Janet is just giving you a bigger reward at the end of it. Yes, it's more limited. You can only do it in the corner, and it's that strike throw, which is still a very good 50-50. And the reason why the strike throw works, just for the record, this is 13 frames, your throw is 10 frames. So that's a 3-frame difference. So that is why that is a legit 50-50. With the Darius one, your back 3 and that overhead, it's not something they can really fuzzy because they don't know which one's happening first. They're happening almost simultaneously because you're controlling the release of Darius's overhead. So that's why both of these are true 50-50s, all right, that are actually both leading the combos. So Janet's stuff, more limited in terms of when you can do the setup, harder to do, but a bigger damage reward. Plus, Janet is giving you tons of options on the rest of the screen. Is there anybody else? Is there anybody else? Yes. As I said, there are 3 that give you setups. So we're kind of going to the complete other side of the spectrum, and that is going to be Frost. The reason why Frost is the other side of the spectrum is Frost does not allow us to play the slide gameplay at all. So the fun thing about Janet was allowing us to play that with punish play style if we wanted to. All right. Frost, no, the only whiff punish you're getting would be this, And it's decently fast at 26 frames, but that's 26 frames compared to 14 frames. Now, that's not the same sort of whiff punish. Now, due to the nature of MK and the fact that you can't dash block in the same way, yeah, you're going to tag people with this, just like you're going to tag people with Serena, but it's like a prey thing. Usually you're like, I hope, fingers crossed, let me just hit him. And that to me is not high-level gameplay. Like, yes, it can work, but that's not something you're going to build a whole strategy around. But you do get a full screen presence. So if the opponent is doing something that is really, really punishable, yeah, you can do this. And you can just throw it out sometimes, and you've got enough time to get all the way over. Now, Frost is way more legit than Frost used to be because of double freeze. Previously, you froze somebody one time, that was it. In the combo, not anymore, my friends. Now you get to keep that combo going, and I suck. No, now you get to keep that combo going, and you get tons of corner carry. So much corner carry. Look at this, they're all the way to the corner from mid-screen. That's great. Now, most combos of Sub-Zeros are going to take them to the corner, but that's just nice that you're getting all the way there. So that part's cool. Also, she's got a bunch of other things she can do. She can put up a wall if your opponent's running away on you, so that kind of locks them down, and yes, people will eventually run away from sub. They'll be like, oh, you want to play lame? I'll play lame. And so that really does lock them down, which is nice. You've also got this, which you can use to end strings safely. You've got this, which you can chip them out with. I mean, she's got so much stuff. But the reason why she to me is an amazing, amazing setup character is because in the corner, so yeah, most characters you're going to be doing setups within the corner, but in the corner, you can loop a very dangerous freeze. It's this, where you call out the globe, and that's just going to track them. And this works no matter what. So just like Darius can stay out for a really long time, just like Janet can stay out for a really long time, this orb stays out for a really long time. So even if the opponent is deciding, oh, I'm worried about this setup, I'm just going to chill here, go ahead, chill. It's still there. That's why this is legit. This isn't like the Kung Lao How where I've got to guess if the opponent's going to delay wake up. No. Whether the opponent delays or not, they are still guessing. And the reason why they're going to guess is because strike in the combo, right? Saw that? Or throw in the combo. Yeah? So you've got strike throw yet again. Doesn't matter if they delay wake up. Doesn't matter if they armor. That's right. They could be armoring on wake up, and due to the nature of this, the fact that they are just, sorry, I got them on random. That's not going to work. I want that nice fast shadow kick that we all love. So because you've kept them there in this freeze, they're really having to wait. And yes, we just have to time it a little bit better, but it's not nearly as hard to get as that Janet setup because we're just waiting for that ball to hit them at the exact same time. You can also just block, for the record. It is totally possible, and I promise it is easier. There we go. So that one, notice, I actually got it, unlike the Janet where I kept getting hit back, right? I would say for all these characters, I spent roughly equal time in training room with them and played real matches to see what makes me feel top tier as a sub player, what leads to those easy wins. Because I'm not talking about just having fun. I'm not talking about like being like retro and doing like Cyrax's bomb setups, and I'll talk about Cyrax in a moment here. But these are ones that are easy to do if we're talking about Darius or Frost, and all of them can be done whether the opponent is delaying wake up or if the opponent decides to armor. They got to make a guess, and you're getting a full combo punish. So Frost seems amazing, right? Frost seems probably the best, and I would say Frost is the best in my way of thinking because you can totally loop this. Oh, look at that, I still hit him. But I'm gonna, for ease of showing, the reason we can loop this, just like we could Darius, for the record, is because of the length of our combos. So if I'm hitting with this, I can be doing a long enough combo that the freeze comes back, and then I get to loop it again, like so, and keep it going. Now, you notice I didn't combo. I'm going to talk about that just a second. So this is loopable. This only takes half a bar, and that means you get to cycle it a bit, and that's a big deal. It's a lot easier to loop this than it is with, say, Janet, where you got to do Janet's recharge to get a second bar out of her. Okay, so this is like Darius levels, ease of use and ease of cycling. So why am I saying that I think Frost is even better than Darius? The reason I think Frost is even better than Darius is because Frost is giving you all these other tools as well. You get the full screen presence of this, you get to trap the opponent like this, and the string enders are pretty similar to Darius, but you do also get this. And the reason why that is a bigger deal is because this is a reversal cameo move, meaning you can do it in gaps. So let's say you don't have any bars and the opponent's got a gap in their string, and you should know all the opponent gaps so you can slide punish, right? So you can use this in gaps and hit somebody. You can also use it on wake up. Now, this is a wake-up is not as good as a Chameleon's ball roll. Chameleon's ball roll is broken. I can't believe it still combos, but hey, we use it, right? So this is not as good as that. But the fact that Frost does give you that sort of wake-up is pretty nice, and does give you a way to break through strings is just another advantage. So you're not really sacrificing in the neutral. Yes, you're sacrificing slide combos, but I would think you're getting a decent amount of other stuff to offset that, and then you're getting a really strong and scary corner game. This is going to freak the opponent out because they're just watching this thing come near them, and this barely damage scales. Like here, I'm going to do a full regular combo. Look at that. 34%. That's great. Now, obviously, we're not hitting for 40 or 50 like we were with Janet a moment ago, but that is just putting something else on screen that is slowly tracking them down. So it's amazing. It's really, really good. There is sadly one downside. If this downside didn't exist, I would think Frost is like a top 2 or something cameo for Sub-Zero. But the downside is half of our 50-50 is not as strong as I would like it to be. It's the throw side. The reason why the throw side is not as strong as I would like it to be is you're in this fall down state, depending on when you do it. There was good. There I got it. But in a lot of cases, when you do this, this is going to happen where you fall down, okay? And when you fall down, you don't have time to get back up and do a back 2 and launch them meterlessly. Instead, you're forced to use a bar to keep it going. So this one does become a bit more meter intensive. Everything else I've shown you, we really didn't need to use any bar, which was great because we can save our bar for breakers. But this one, yeah, if it happens where the freeze makes you fall, the way you're going to get back in there is with this. See how that is still a combo? Their damage is going to be not amazing. I missed one of the back 2s. You get up to like 22%, right? But the idea is you're not doing that. You're refreezing them again around the 20% mark, which having you spend a bar. In an ideal world, you're getting this after the shove. So you're calling her out and then like right away, but you're far enough. You saw me do it one time where you're no longer like involved in the animation. So it's a little bit later. Now, see, it's hard. It's hard to call her far enough back. Yeah, that you're getting the push away. Now, with something like that, see, you still fall. So the point here is that you're generally going to need to spend a bar to loop this because you're usually not going to get the push in such a way that you won't fall. It's not going to happen because even those, I'm not really getting the push version. Yes, even then. So that's the bad part. That's the downside of this setup. But overall, I think it's really consistent because you're only having to spend half a bar to do it. So those are the core deets. I'm going to get into some other specifics of how to hit combos and stuff like that, especially with the slide combo. So if you want to stick around for that, feel free. But if you are here to learn what are Sub-Zero's best setups and getting the hit, to me it is 100% Darius, because you can get a little something off of any hit, and you get an amazing mix-up that leads to full combos. It's safe for you. The opponent is guessing whether they delay wake up or not, and you get a little bit extra health, and you get a little bit of chip out, and you get some hard-to-hit throw combos, all right? Janet, amazing, but a really high learning curve. You're getting all the slide combos, all the armor breaks, which is awesome. You also get some utility with that mime time blocking for zoning or to punish the opponent when they're trying to punish your gaps and strings. And you get crazy awesome damage in the corner off of a strike throw mix-up that can, with some work, also break armor and get the opponent, even if they're using delayed wake-up. Or you've got Frost, which you're totally scrapping any sort of slide combos, but you are getting full screen presence with this low ice. You're even getting some sort of fake mix-ups with this overhead or this. Again, none of these are real. These are all fuzzyable. Actually, you know what? Actually, this is 22 frames, and that's 26 frames. It's only a 4-frame difference. And there's 21 frames. That's 26 frames, only a 5-frame difference. So you're almost getting some real 50-50s. The opponent should always just block low, though, because that's just a knockdown. This is just a knockdown, right? I covered this before. But yeah, with her, you do get some quasi 50-50s, even mid-screen. So Frost, you're getting lots of tools in the neutral. You're getting ways to chip out with the stab, similar to what Darius had, right? And you're getting a really scary mix now that you can refreeze. I do think the easiest wins are with Frost. I think if you enjoy a setup playstyle, just play Frost. You're going to have a lot of fun with it because you're going to have a lot of different options, and you're going to be able to get the opponent into the corner because all your combos are moving in them in that direction. And once you're there, you really get to leverage the buff we got of the ability to double freeze. So I can do this freeze, and I can still freeze them again, and I can just keep this going all day. I think you can get some wins pretty easily. I've gotten some wins pretty easily using her. If you want to go for that higher level of gameplay, though, I do think it's Janet, just for the record. It's just, you're not going to be able to get wins with her as quickly unless you've already been doing a lot of work on your slide focused game plan. If you're somebody that wants to go with a slide focused game plan but also still have solid setups, 100%, no question, go with Janet Cage. Those are the most important things I want to tell you all about. Let's get into some specific combo stuff, though, and I'll even get into how Sub-Zero can do setups by himself. So this is stuff most players who played Sub-Zero for a while probably didn't know about, but Sub-Zero does have a safe corner setup where you get 2 hits of your back 2, you go into this, and then you block. So this is part of what I mean that, Sub-Zero can do setups by himself. So even if you're not playing a setup-focused gameplay, let's say you're playing Chameleon or Scorpion, you can still be doing this in a way that the opponent isn't going to be able to punish you. I remember when I first saw somebody put this tech out on X, and everyone was like freaking who was in the Sub-Zero community because it was really a way to set up the clone safely and not be worried about armor. You really need to hit him in the toes, so I don't think that's going to be safe. Yeah, you got to hit them on the lower portion of their body. Like that should work. Nope, still needs to be a little bit lower. There we go. And now it's safe. Now, the idea is that once the opponent realizes that, oh no, I can't just use my armor to get out, then they're going to respect your clone, right? And this 112 is going to put you at the perfect range to come up, even if it's just regular clone, to come up and throw them, or come up and load them. And like we already talked about, 10 frames, 13 frames, that's a real mix. So you can even fake it. You can like dash up as if you're going to do something and then block, and that'll block their armor. Now, those to me are good, but they're not as scary as having something else on screen, like Janet on screen with you, Darius on screen with you, Frost, Freeze on screen with you, which is why I covered those first. Those, to me, are something you can really base a full game plan on. I do not think you can base a full game plan on just Sub-Zero's Freeze, because you're putting yourself at risk to move toward the opponent and do something. I have seen so many Sub-Zeros in matches get this setup, move in, be like, I'm gonna get ya, and then the opponent does their armor, or then the opponent just like jumps out of it. They can't do that with the other 3 setups I showed you, because with Darius, you are hitting them the moment they get up. With Janet, you are also hitting them the moment they get up. With all of them, you are hitting them generally the moment they get up, because they were frozen. You got your setup in place, and then as they get up, you're hitting them. So it's not the same. Even though this is a safe setup, the opponent gets to do stuff. The opponent has time while you are moseying your way over. Now, yeah, you could slide, but that's like big risk, big reward. We ideally want setups that are safe for us and force the opponent to guess and lead to a full combo. So yes, you can play Sub-Zero doing some setup stuff, but to me, this is just something you're putting in your game plan every now and then. Every now and then I'm just doing this to mix the opponent up. I'm like, haha, gotcha. Now I'm closing out the match with something you hadn't seen me do before, all right? Honestly, the way I like to use a corner is I'm back here. So I put this clone up, and then I'm like, all right, come on. This is where I live. Because this gives me time to react to almost anything. You jump, I'm going to freeze you if I've got freeze back. Or I'm just going to 1-2, I'm going to down 2. And then I'm just doing this. Just doing this all day long. Just doing this. So the point here, oh, looks like I got to wrap up this recording here in a couple minutes. So point is that you do have the ability to do some free stuff by yourself, okay? But I would not recommend basing all game plan around it. So those of you worried about looping, you can loop this, even with the change to clone. How can you loop it? Wait. Give clone time to break. If you give clone time to break, you can do it again. So you can still loop this stuff. So I'll do this, I'm gonna jump. You can actually even wait to do it after they'll like stagger as they fall, but you can already see I'm already looping this. Oh, it didn't quite there. I didn't give it long enough on the jump. But yeah, if you do a jump, and that's just to help timing, honestly. If you do that jump, you can totally loop clone even with the change to clone. All right, so you can do this, jump, see how they're staggering there? Clone again. So you can absolutely loop this, just like everything else I showed you is loopable. So yes, Sub-Zero has loopable clone setups all by his lonesome, and that's cool. That's nice, all right? But I wouldn't recommend building a whole game plan around it, because it's just not that scary, because the opponent has time to do stuff, all right? Now, I mentioned that I was going to show Cyrax. I'm not going to have time to show Cyrax. I'll do a whole video just about Cyrax. Cyrax can do a bomb setup, which is cool, but there's only really a throw side of it. There's not a good strike side of it, so that's why I'm not counting Cyrax as one of these good setups. Last thing I'm going to just tell you how to do is the Janet slide combo, because it took me a while to learn this one. I just want to make sure people are clear on it. So the way it works is you want to wait for the spear to be all the way up there at the top. And I apologize that this recording thing's a little annoying up there, but you're waiting for the spear to be out of tight, and then you press Janet twice when you call her out, okay? Hitting it twice makes her go green. Then you got to hit Janet again when that punch connects. So not when her first punch connects, so you're hitting it twice, then again right there, right as that second punch connects. You can also do longer combos that are kind of cool off this, where you get something like a freeze. It's just fun, right? It just looks cool. So you can extend this to get a little bit of extra damage, just for the record, but it's generally not worth it because the damage you're getting isn't enough. But the idea is call Janet twice initially, and then call Janet again on the second hit, and that'll make her go green the first time, and then green the second time. All right, that was a third play style. Next up is a video about making the hit count. Look forward to seeing you there.